So welcome to another episode of the Dope Designer Club. Here we are again with the one and only Natasha Bites. She's back. She's fabulous. It's been a little over a year, I'd say, a year and a half since our first really pilot episode. That was just like a test that we did in Belgrade. And now we're back here in LA where we belong. And it's a lot has happened in the last year. And here we are to update you, our dear fans, of all the happenings in our lives. So Natasha, welcome back.
Thank you.
To the Dope Designer Club.
Thank you. Where we belong.
Where we belong. So first of all, I love your outfit. Natasha is the queen of the avant-garde.
I love
and
that.
she definitely looks it. So let's talk about the outfit. Like, what is this? Like, what are these things?
These are spectacular. These are Turkmenistan jewelry. So Turkmenistan was one of my first projects with my mom in the early 90s, like 1992.
So wait, your mom was also an architect?
My mom is an architect, runs in the family, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So in 1992, 1991 or something like that, Turkmenistan split from US, became incredibly rich on its own, and had
projects
it just
left
started.
and right.
Yeah,
it was like the Dubai of the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just started going in a really insane direction. So it was weird. So we were the first party to design a presidential palace and a complex, because of course how you start is with the presidential palace.
Let me just say, if I ever become a dictator, I would love for you to collaborate with me.
I will.
To design my presidential palace.
Fabulous. Okay.
Yes.
So yes. So that's of course that's the first thing. It's not Machiavelli.
Like my outfit is a little bit like it's like Tito, like the white suits and like you know what? Yeah, it's leaning there, Yeah.
No, but he's okay. Well, if you become a dictator, I have
a white piano. I have a white piano too. So
wow!
The elements are there.
Definitely
right?
set. I think you're definitely set.
No one's gonna get this. Like,
no
one's getting this.
Anyways, but it was insanely interesting experience for me, both traveling there, visiting there. Oh, just before it became global, there was so much local culture. I don't know if they're still making it. I think the technique is nearly medieval. I mean,
I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
it's like these giant things. There's like probably like meaning and symbols. And
yes. They all have meaning and symbols. They all use similar type of I had a really big ring.
It does look like ancient, but in some ways like it's so futuristic too, and like how they say like
Dune. Yeah,
it's like the future is old type of thing. Are these like little books that I don't mean
no
to,
they don't actually open up.
They
don't, but they're filled with something, so there's a little bit of weight, and then it's gold plated with this silver work, which I don't know. I think craftsmanship is what stands out, the rawness of it. I love it.
It's
too. Really,
I mean, you look fabulous in your outfit.
Thank
I know
you
you make your own clothes.
Of course I do.
The glasses, the hair. We were just talking before the show. Our hair is opposite.
Yeah. Fortunately, I'm getting a haircut. Like this has been. Yeah.
I think it suits you. I think it like really suits who you are. I also want to mention Natasha brought me a wonderful gift. It's like this.
It's a birthday gift.
It's a birthday gift in two
parts. A little
bit
late. Yeah.
It's like this really rustic. I love housewares. Like we should design houseware. We're also talking about designing our fashion line. We're like really into fashion line. But she brought me this, and she brought me this perfume that she made,
designed for you.
Yes. Wow. Tell me about it.
Well, it started from both of us being in Belgrade, and Belgrade in the spring is filled with linden trees, and they flower for like a week. And then there's a whole mess of everybody's complaining, starting from my mom, like, oh, there's a lot of, dirt and stuff. But boy, those 2 weeks, it smells fabulous. So I
Mm.
started with linden. I have there's a support of jasmine and patchouli.
I love perfumes, actually.
I know
love
you do.
Mm.
And it sits on sandalwood so that it's soft and
But
creamy
it's
and
also,
milky.
yes, you know what? It's clean.
It is
I
clean.
love clean,
Yes.
but it's also strong.
I'm glad I did
And
it.
it's like an aldehyde. Like it's not
So
quite
indolic.
like
So the
yeah.
indolic part is jasmine, and it will probably be the first one to go away.
I love it. We should totally like
Yeah. I tried to design it as a perfume portraiture. So I tried to pick something that I think is
that's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's how it should be.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
having
this is
your
what we are doing.
own like signature scent
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the epitome of
Yeah.
like
Sophistication
luxury,
and
sophistication.
and kind of craziness. I love that.
But don't you think, like, when I was growing up, my mom, to me, like, Paris, Yves Saint Laurent
Oh, yeah, yeah.
is my mom.
Oh, really?
You know?
Yes.
That is her.
Yes.
Do you have,
So
any memories like
my
that?
mom was opium.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was one of the first ones. And I still love it.
Mm.
I still love it. And then somehow I started going to perfumes in the 90s, late 90s, and it was incense, smoky, woody, all of that. I still love Avignon. And I remember just what Avignon is Comme des Garçons. There's a series of incense, probably from the 90s. And I remember being in Avignon and then just walking into the church until, my nose is saturated and walking out, getting a new kind of clean palette and walking back in. Because
the incense.
The incense is fabulous.
So
right.
I love incense,
And then Orthodox Church has a very specific incense.
Yes. I have some of it. I love it too.
I love it.
I think a lot of cultures have incense. I think it's like pan-cultural.
Totally.
And I think it goes back from, to before Christianity.
Yeah.
To really kind of our pagan like roots.
Yep.
And like burning things.
Yeah.
And how burning equals cleansing.
Yeah. Plus the smell. I mean, imagine the influence of the smell. I mean, smell is evolutionary. It's half of your brain, right?
Yeah.
Because for longest period of times of evolution, it is actually a dominant landscape, and our dogs and cats have smell landscape. We don't anymore, but I think it's still incredible.
We spoke about that book Sapiens.
This
is definitely bringing that up too for me. So we talked about thank you so much. I love this. Like I said, I love housewares, and this is always going to remind me of you. So
thank you. I love it. So what I love is a mixture of super technological plus raw.
That's perfect. I like that too.
So it needs to be raw to kind of ground you, make you aware that it's done by humans, that that there's a process behind it, that there's everything. But then I'm so into technology, so
we'll get into
somewhere in between those two is where I like to be.
Yeah. I want to say today I got this package from my dear mentor from Hawaii, and I put this here. Please help yourself. It's cookies. It's the Honolulu Cookie Company.
Lord, do I?
And these are like the best cookies.
Do I? Yeah, ever. I don't want to start.
They're like individually wrapped. Like this is heaven.
I should not start.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of an issue with me starting cookies.
But anyways, I want to give a shout out to Bert too. He's like such a dear friend and mentor, and like family, and he's like the only person that watches this show too. So I love you, Bert. But he's wonderful. He also sent like the Star Advertiser, like it's like the newspaper from Hawaii. So
wow!
This morning
you get to keep up with what that is so nice.
It's cute. It's
so nice.
So, but back to like raw and technology. Mm-hmm. So you and I have been talking about this theme of AI, and I mean, why don't you just start? I mean, I know what I think and how I use it and how I think we could use it.
So what is interesting for me, what happened in the last year and a half.
I just want to say before you get into that, like Natasha has been in this like way longer.
Yeah.
Like AI really became big this year, you know, like,
yes.
But she's been in it for like a decade.
Yeah. So what happened is I went to get this is a geeky thing that I cannot resist. My third master's in computer science.
This is
third master's in computer science. So a geeky
I love
thing.
that. I love that.
Okay.
I think I am a geek, and I think that's why we get along so well.
Yeah, I think
it's a compliment.
Yeah. Okay. So it comes with the territory it's in. So I actually started computer science at USC masters. I would say in 2000, I would say probably 2013, 14, something like that. But it took me a while. I was teaching and then I was going to school, and then I was constantly finding more and more stuff that I have to learn. Nobody has to do anything, but this is me. So
I
then
love that curiosity. That's a really important, I think, trait for anyone who's creative.
Yeah, that's kind of food, essential food, right? You go deeper and you find more stuff. So 2017, I was able to make one of the first generative artificial intelligence pieces, and I made floor plans. So at that point, it was so new.
Somebody give this woman some kind of award. I'll make an award for you.
Thank you. So it was really new. It was these generative.
Actually, Dope Designer Club awards.
Oh wow! I'm glad it. Okay.
Awards.
Cool. Very cool. So 2017,
the inaugural one
in February when I had it. It was so new that some of my dearest teachers from USC, of course, younger than me, but yeah. Anyways, that was my fabulous position, being the old lady in the class. We were thinking about publishing it.
Old lady at 35.
No, at that point, 47 or 48. Seriously, yeah. Kind of.
I mean, but now you're only.
Yes. That is interesting. Since then, my life is rolling back, and I'm 35. It's very. I mean, that flow of time is it's interesting, right? So currently 35, then at 48. It was really weird. I tried to publish it in architectural kind of for conferences, and most architects absolutely could not even grasp. So they were telling me it's not generative. It is, none of that things, because it was incredibly ahead of the curve. Now, what I've learned from that was absolutely incredible. I could generate a floor plan in 1.7 seconds on my, I would say probably 5 generations ago. You know how laptops die. So 1.7 seconds means in 8 hours.
But there were also like prompts.
No. So this is
you're a programmer.
I'm a programmer. So what you do is you prepare all the prompts and you let it run. And if I let it run just during the time that I'm sleeping, I get 15,000 floor plans in 8 hours. Which means when I wake up, I have absolutely no chance of reviewing any of them at all, right? 15,000 is just not doable. And if you can write a script to feed prompts now to DALL-E, Midjourney, or any of those, maybe with kind of network and everything, it will still be around 2 seconds, right? And now they're much higher resolution and everything else. So how do you know that what you are creating is good? And this is something I really spend.
Well, there's no, I think, quality control, but there's also like no human, the whole beauty of AI is that you then get to give it, meaning and interpret it. And then,
Yes, but there are other parts that are, connected to this big subject of machine hallucination now that everybody's in chat GPT and everything. So when computer does something that is not intuitive for, I would say, engineers. Engineers call it machine hallucination.
I think that's interesting too, because in my time in using different AI tools, I've noticed not hallucination, but I've noticed for myself in my own very private way, I've noticed a stereotype too.
Oh, yes.
In like in language,
Yes.
in even the aesthetic.
Yes.
Like the whole Mid-Journey aesthetic is to me so obvious, like, and that's something that
there's this place that you can play with, but the thing is, the way AI operates is actually purely fabulous.
But what I really love it for, and we'll get into it, like I like the testing aspect of it. It's like testing, bouncing, like you're throwing things here and there, and for that kind of thinking and process, I think is useful.
So there's a couple of things. It is still really far. The outcome is really far from what you really expect to see. Now, for architects and creative types, that is fabulous. That's a well of
But
depth.
here's the other thing too. It's kind of like designing through iteration versus designing from inspiration. This is like such a quotable like moment, by the way. I'm surprising myself.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like
I've been doing this since '99.
You can do science. Like I love Tesla, Nikola Tesla, right? So, and the difference between other scientists and Tesla is that he was able to kind of imagine things and like really predict things intuitively just because he was so in tune with the laws, and like his mind is just like so vast, right? That like other humans probably can't do that. But other humans, like other scientists of the time, would have to do experiments over and over and over and over again to come to the same or even like lesser solution. So I think that in some ways the human mind also has this like inspiration and like just that something divine,
so there's
distinguishes these two. But I think it's super useful. I don't want to be like, like like those like people like, when Revit came out and they're like, nah, I don't want Revit. Like those old people
this is unstoppable.
that can't learn how to use freaking email,
this is unstoppable.
To me, AI is like kind of like an evolutionary moment. Like, when the people in the caves like found like a thing, like a little piece of clay and like started drawing on the wall. Yeah. And so that is kind of the shift that I kind of saw immediately. Yeah. When I started kind of using it.
So what they're saying is it's going to be a change, the level of mobile phone change on lives. It's going to be a change at the level of internet. Yeah, internet. Changing all of our lives. Look, our lives are now completely inseparable for both of these things. Yeah. And AI is going to, this is unstoppable. Now, what's the final product, especially for architecture and creative disciplines? That is going to be fabulous. So I went down the rabbit hole of evaluating the outcomes. So if you want to, right now, AI is still in a way statistical machine. Statistical means the LLM, large language models.
Yeah. And large it's based on language also. Yeah. And not quite like the visual language, I think, is also lagging.
So there are two parts. The reason why they develop LLMs first is there's a belief that all the knowledge is contained within the language. If we cannot explain it with the language, then it doesn't exist, which is not really 100% true because we come up with new words. And we find some new formulations. However,
well, there's also like language and meaning, and we can have a whole separate discussion about that.
That's true. So what happened with LLMs is you sort of truncate, you go and break down everything that is on internet. And what they're saying is, I think, is it 48 trillion data points? Like, a number that I don't know how to write.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. And they truncate it down. Like it gets to be parsed into smaller sections. And then you're looking for the most likely follow-up. So if the first word is branca, then the next one would be is or something like that, a verb, whatever. And statistically, when you look at all the Branca appearances on the internet, you will find what's the most
all the
likely.
sex tapes.
Yes, definitely, for sure. Yes, Branca has a sex tape. That's a whole other issue, But anyways, it's statistical. So there's no inherent meaning if you have an interior that is designed by AI. AI most likely will put furniture on the floor, but not necessarily always, because it has seen furniture on the floor, but it has no understanding of how gravity works, right? So maybe gravity is completely off. Maybe you want some of the gravity off. Maybe you want the floating bookshelves.
Let's
go
back to the sex tapes.
Yeah, stuff that is juicier. Forget about juicier stuff. Sex tapes. Yeah. Ooh.
No, I mean, I'm fascinated with the AI stuff. I think that people are finding different ways to use it and apply it to what they're doing in their world, which I think is wonderful. And I love the diversity with which people are applying it. You know,
we are still at the very, 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 very beginning.
It's just at the cusp of it, and I think it's probably very rudimentary too, like in architecture primarily. But I think also back to architecture, I think you come from a school, you know, like in the early 2000s, I think there was like a whole like parametric design, and that's like Zaha Hadid too. Like,
wait. My mentor, we started it earlier. So I was doing generative design at the late 90s.
I graduated like in 2005.
Okay.
So, you know, like...
I am in my 35 years of age. I graduated... I got master's from SciArc in 99.
That's when I graduated high school. Class of 2000.
That's it. Very easy. I hate you. I hate you.
But it's still, I mean, yeah, you're way ahead. So, but back then there was like this software called Bentley, and I actually went to a conference.
MicroStation,
Yeah, and a lot of like Zaha people were there, like using this stuff.
Yes.
You can't imagine like how I had to like convince my firm in Hawaii to send me. They're like they didn't know what it was or what would it be used for. But that was, I think, like, to me, if I look back now, that was it.
I was doing generative stuff before that. My mentor was one of the pioneers of digital movement, Carl Chu. And he was really connected here in LA, and Greg Lynn and everybody else. So I was doing it in 99, and I made that breakthrough with fully generative stuff. Basically, you have a formula that unfolds into something spatial, and you can control it because you write a formula. And I kind of weave it in from then. There's a lot of generative stuff happening still, but the powers of generative are changing, and now we have AI finally. Still, I believe that this what we have as a current version of AI is...
But it's popularized. It's popularized because, you know, like people can use it to respond to an email, you know, like...
Oh, yes.
You know, so...
Oh, absolutely. Like, and imagine all the naked girls that you can make.
I also have like this thing about AI, like, is it authentic or is it not authentic? Like, I definitely, like, if I'm using AI to generate text, like, I have a big issue with like publishing it or using it, even like texting somebody, like you can use it. It just makes that painful thing of how you looking for a word like so much easier.
Yeah.
But then it really needs to be edited so that it's authentic to you. And that
is going to happen. It's the next step, because more you do it, more it will learn. And it's going to be tailored to you.
Yeah.
That is coming.
The other day, Wednesday, like 2 days ago. So in LA, if your best friend, you see them like once a month.
That's pretty much it.
And so lately, Natasha and I have been seeing each other like once a week. And so we're like, oh my God. And this week, because of this, it's 2 times a week.
We're breaking all the records.
Yes.
Opening singularity.
We went to this amazing screening at the Hammer Museum. It's a collaboration, actually, MoMA and Hammer. And we watched Sophia Coppola's Priscilla, which is such a lovely movie. We didn't have a chance to talk about it a lot. But we went there. The average age at these events is like 75 plus. So it's very like geriatric, I think. But we had a wonderful time. I love these kinds of events, and I love the movie.
I know.
And we even stayed for the discussion. Like
Yeah.
true geeks. We stayed for the discussion.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, I think the subject is close to both of us as just being a woman. Like, okay, what is the position of a woman in life period, right? And this is just one of the extremes, right?
Plus, I mean, you're very like both of us are very like progressive.
Yeah, I would probably.
I mean,
think so. Yes.
Come on, like
yes.
you're
yes.
like
okay.
we are at like a different.
It is true, and this is so. But I am kind of floored with just the idea of dating Elvis at 14. It's like,
yeah, there is a scene.
Can
like,
you
where
imagine?
He's kind of like, it's mind blowing. Yeah,
Can you imagine Elvis picking you up in a car? It's like, I mean, normal 14-year-old goes crazy with any boyfriend, not even pick a car. I mean,
and he was much older than her too. Yeah. To me, it was a very kind of intimate portrayal of a very kind of personal life experience.
Yeah.
And I think it actually made a feminist comment in a much bigger way, even though it was a much quieter statement than, say, Barbie. I think Barbie, like with all the hype and all the marketing, and I mean, I'm glad they made the movie.
Right.
You know, like was so flat, was so uncreative, was so just...
I mean, I think it's capturing different audience.
I also
this one is complicated.
I also wanted to say about Barbie, like, I wanted it to be wittier. You know? It
That's
wasn't like... I just...
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a dry humor.
I wanted to like it.
Yeah.
I even went to the Barbie experience with my daughter. Like, you know, and I played with Barbies.
I did not.
I did. Yes. Oh my God, my Barbie. What did you play with? Well,
I got a computer at 13.
She played with computers.
Yeah.
Natasha played with computers. I played with Barbies.
And did math for fun. I'm not kidding. My grandfather was a math professor. Dear Lord. I started doing math for fun.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm insane. Like, that's okay.
Math is probably like this is where we diverge. This is where our paths diverge.
And I love it because it doesn't it cannot be more abstract than math, but it's so beautiful.
Actually, like one of my LinkedIn learning courses, like which is about practice, like in the intro, I say like, you don't have to be good at math. You don't have to be good at math because that's what people assume. Like, oh my God, you're an architect. You must be good at math or you must know how to draw. Drawing, I think, is maybe...
Drawing is important still.
Important. Yeah. You should know how to draw.
I think... Okay, I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say it.
Say it.
Math is important. And it's also beautiful. Once you get past the... arithmetics or some simple stuff. Oh dear God, it's fabulous.
Priscilla does a lot of math in the movie.
But arithmetics and all this other stuff, and it kind of shows that as a chore, as her part of it.
It also shows her at that stage of her life, of just like going to school.
Yeah, and also it kind of dealing with the stuff that she should be dealing. But out of Elvis's bedroom.
So here's the other thing. Like this movie, like when I was driving back from that, I was like, I want to make a movie like that. I knew it actually, in the discussion, they talk about like, this was a very limited production and we shot it in 30 days. I knew it watching the movie. I was already thinking like, they just basically rented a house, with a pool, and the shots are all very intimate. It's not about the like those historical movies. It's all about the spectacle of the set
there's
design.
No 3,000 extras on a concert.
Yes, exactly. It's like just very like intimate and psychological. And I love these kinds of movies, like where it's, she blinked. She blinked, but it means so much, it's like so loaded with meaning.
And it's also, I think it's a ultimately a feminist story, but also a story of the culture. What happens when you date a narcissist?
Yeah, there was,
Where
yeah,
everything
yeah.
is kind of revolving around him.
Mm,
And
yeah.
she, I think only because of her age, was able to stay in that for a longer time. Eventually, we all develop personalities, and I don't think
You
he
know what
could
it
date anyone.
also, you know what it's
Mhm.
also about? It's about relationships as prisons, as
Oh yeah,
psychological
definitely.
prisons.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah. I
Wow,
mean,
like the mood just like dropped.
totally for
Like,
both of us. It's like,
it's like,
oh,
whoa,
oh,
this is
yeah.
heavy.
we veered somewhere.
But back
where
to
we
the sex
shouldn't.
tapes. There was
Oh
no
yeah,
sex
yeah.
tape. There
Let's
was
do
no
sex tape.
sex, actually. They were very abstinent in the movie, but
Yeah.
we can, I don't know. Back
There
to the
was
sex
no
tapes.
sex with Elvis. There is like no sex scenes. Like
Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
a lot more drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So yeah,
but
it was kind of cool to just go out and like participate in something like this. I think I love film. I
Mhm.
love film, and we live in a city that's like so.
film centric.
Yes. Yes.
It is.
So,
Totally.
and I think it's such a great medium, and I think it's also, because you're an architect, like I think creatively and process wise, it's just like so similar to
So
architecture.
I'm going to tell you one other secret. The good news when you go to 48 and then to 35 is you have a lot of time ahead of you. So I was a production designer on 2 movies.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
That's amazing.
One you can actually see on Amazon.
Which one?
Dude, it's called Dark World, and it's sort of BC production for whole budget.
Doesn't matter.
The whole budget was kind of super low, and then 80s 90s B actor movies are the leads, and some of them you will I mean, well, you're a little bit too young, but you will recognize them. It's fun. Budget was super low, like to a point of wall needs to be painted. That means Natasha gets a brush and paints the wall and stuff. For real. And then
But in Sophia Coppola's, they use like $3 a yard fabric to make the school uniforms.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had.
But they had like 120. Yes, 100.
Just for one actor. Think about what.
Yeah, it was very costume heavy, which I liked.
Super costume heavy.
I liked the costumes, and the woman was so after the screening, they talked, and one of the people who were talking and answering questions was the costume designer, and she was so lovely.
Yeah, she
had a great vibe.
Yeah, she's lovely.
And great hair.
Yeah. It's true. And yeah, you can see style, right?
Yeah,
that's absolutely. Yeah. It's fabulous.
So you did production design on 2 movies. That's fascinating.
This is when LA was, they filmed Priscilla.
This is when LA was a village.
Capital. Yeah, it was a capital of filming. And everybody would
but
get.
But that's too expensive. Like,
it's
right?
way too expensive, right?
Yeah. So I think my movie, when I do it, will be on location.
Fabulous. Yeah, definitely.
Probably in
Which
Serbia.
means Atlanta.
it means Serbia.
Could be Serbia, right? The other options are Toronto and Atlanta. That's it.
Yeah, Toronto.
Yeah.
So I want to mention that. So William Pereira, like one of the iconic sort of modernist architects in LA, got an Oscar for a production design, which I think was just like so cool. So
I worked in Johnson Fain Pereira.
Oh really?
Yes.
What?
I know. It was it was zillion years ago. It was I think right after grad school I worked there.
That's amazing.
And at that point they were Johnson Fain and Pereira was kind of
separate.
to the side. I mean that's their legacy. No. And then afterwards they started kind of putting it in because Scott Johnson, I mean, they were the diehard guys making all the skyscrapers in Century City. So I think there was a little bit kind of too rash or too much of the legacy. But now the legacy is back in, which is kind of super nice.
So William Pereira ended up like kind of master planning Irvine and I watched recently an interview by his son, who's still kind of some kind of planner or developer or something like that. But the reason I know so much about it because one of my buildings, the 136 El Camino, was originally designed by William Pereira.
that's
I don't know if we
fabulous.
talked about that.
I don't know.
I talk about it all the
Of
time.
course. I mean, come on, yeah.
And he was commissioned by the Dahini family
Uh-huh.
to design, this office for them, which they then occupied it for 50 years.
Wow.
And then
what
they
are you
sold
putting in
it.
now?
We did a core and shell renovation. So we kept, it's a historical facade. So we had a historical consultant. And we added a roof deck. So like a lot of the skin remained intact, but on the inside it's like a brand new modern office building.
Fabulous.
So we designed a new lobby, like we blew up some floors in there, like designed a beautiful basement, like kind of like an amenity.
Oh, that is so
with, like,
nice.
Pool tables and
cute,
like
cute,
cinemas and
cute.
Anyways, that's why I know so much about.
So you're gunning for Google? You're gunning for Google, like hopefully
like
somebody
some
with the
kombucha,
tech,
like tap.
Oh yeah. We cannot miss kombucha on tap.
Yeah, but it was like really cool, and I learned so much about that time too, because this building is like, William Pereira was also a very flamboyant personality, like you. So I feel like there's an Oscar here in the works.
Thank you. It's a completely different business now. I mean, think about what movie business is now versus what it was, and think about what architecture was then and what it is now. There's a huge. I mean, the tectonic shifts are happening in the businesses. It's a completely different thing. But when you think about him, you cannot not think about the Spider restaurant in LAX, right?
Oh yeah.
And all of these, googly architecture that kind of followed.
A lot of people don't know enough about this like period of I guess LA has such a great like modernist legacy.
Oh yes.
That I think really infected the rest of the world. Like if you think about the Eameses that were here and like
Neutra, even Frank Lloyd Wright, and that whole
Schindler.
generation kind of set the tone.
Yeah.
But we are such a crazy diverse city.
But now we have those like, I call it totalitarian houses and like, I don't know, like the modern farmhouse. Modern farmhouse.
Yeah. Well, so to me that's an interesting result of the power of media, because all the spec houses are now actually first programmed by a marketing agency, no longer architects. So marketing agency does not have anybody that understands the particular geometry of a place. That's not what they care about. But they care about farmhouse sink in the middle of Culver City or whatever fairly more urban area. You get the farmhouse sink, and that's the nature of not designing for a client anymore, but designing for spec houses. Which was, I think it was always there. I think most of the people believe that hiring an architect is an incredibly expensive venture.
It is. It is an extremely expensive venture. Because
do you think it's our fault?
Well, I think in some ways, I mean, like it is expensive, but guess what? People spend money on all kinds of things. People spend thousands of dollars on a purse.
Yeah, that's true.
Or a car.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or
I know.
Travel, like
Okay, so keep travel outside of it.
Or like
I will spend money on travel. Purses and cars, not really.
I'll spend money on chairs.
So there we go. There we go. Travel.
So I think it just kind of depends on what's important to you, and that's where you kind of invest your resources. And I think that I think there's space for everything and everybody
for sure. But I think we can also bring efficiency and sort of curbing the spending on the house.
Absolutely, yeah,
and actually save some of the money.
Yeah,
by being hired.
Yeah, I get that too, but I also think that sometimes like there's I'm gonna sound like so entitled, when I say this, but I will.
There-
I think also that sometimes some of this stuff goes beyond money. And like, I think, architects add value not just by saving like a few dollars per square foot on a cheaper tile, but also kind of in bringing value, like to
So
the whole
my thinking is,
long-term experience of a place.
my thing is, we are so much more efficient in organizing 3,000 square feet so that you don't have 1,000 square feet that is basically unusable, which kind of happens when you have
Space planning is such a basic skill, I have
It
to say,
is.
for architects, that a lot of, I'm sorry to say this, really, I apologize in advance to my industry, but a lot of architects don't know how to space plan. And architects that have practiced for 20, 30 years, I get to correct their plans because it's full of freaking corridors, dead end corridors, and wasted space. And that's
Yeah.
such a great skill that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Like how you can just make spaces more efficient, more
Exactly.
open, more current, more connected.
And also, there's
Natural
one more
light.
thing. There's one more thing that we always kind of forget. Everything is incredibly dynamic.
Mhm.
So what you want is transformable space, both daily, right? Things will move, furniture will move, but also in terms of, can you relatively quickly redesign this and add a bedroom, maybe within the square footage,
Or at a studio,
or at a studio?
in a garage.
There we go. Or when pandemic hits, how do you create that extra workspace, right?
Mhm.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
And a lot more people will stay working from home
Mhm.
and will need, a little something to work from.
I think that was such a positive side effect of
Mhm.
the pandemic that
Yeah.
people started paying attention to where they live.
Yeah.
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 And not just because they work there,
Yeah.
they spend more time there.
Yeah.
I think people started valuing their, homes a little bit more. Although, if you take a
Yeah.
walk in any neighborhood at night, you'll see the horrors of how people actually live. Unfortunately,
So
it's
there's
a culture. I think that's a cultural thing. And I think the culture of living is something that needs to be elevated. And I would love to like talk about that and help people with that.
Yeah.
But it really does take attention and time and care.
Yeah.
But guess what?
But
Your
it
whole
feeds.
life.
But it feeds so much.
Yeah. But what do you get in return?
And you are really, sometimes I don't think any of us are necessarily aware, because it goes under the thresholds of consciousness.
Absolutely.
But boy, does it set the mood.
You and I are so on the same page with this.
Mhm.
Like, also during the pandemic, people were so depressed. It
Mhm.
starts with your house. Go clean your house. Clean the house. You'll feel better. Start arranging things.
Mhm.
It has such a positive effect on your mental state when you're in a beautiful space.
So for the last 10 years, I was creating software that can evaluate indoor building space
Mhm.
and tell you what mood you will have from it.
Mhm.
Because that, I think, is the missing link for creating really good, we need to have AI supportive software that operates at the scale of AI. Meaning, if you get a floor plan in 2 seconds, you need to be able to evaluate it in 2 seconds. You and I have a lot of experience in architecture. It's not 2 seconds. It's not even 2 minutes.
Mhm.
20, maybe,
Mhm.
right? Depending on complexity of the plan. So we need to tone it down. So a lot of that stuff needs to be evaluated. Think about how we price real estate. We go location, 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 right? And then you have something that is in terms of, let's call it vibe. I don't know. We don't have language.
Vibe is a great
We don't
word.
have a
I use
language,
vibe a lot.
but we should actually develop that language for how you feel in space, right? Because it's important. And it goes, it doesn't hit our language centers. It's not cognitive. It's kind of beyond or below, however you want to call it. And you cannot really pinpoint and say, something's off, right?
It's your experience. It's your experience of the space. And I'm actually writing an article about this, which is like, we're so aligned, dude. Like, we are so like...
Yeah, I know.
But this is literally what I've been thinking about in the
No
last
wonder
2
we
days.
go out once a week.
No, but like I wanted to say this, furniture, for example. Furniture is like super important. Like you can really design with furniture.
Yep.
And I think furniture is that thing that's like a little bit like it's not clothes, right? It's not the room. It's something in between, but it's really an extension of our body,
Totally.
like, right? Like it's
totally.
It's all of ergonomics and all of this stuff. But like you really can use furniture to design for this experience. Actually, I did just publish an article about it.
So I'm going to go back to my academic roots and I'm going to bring in the heavyweights. So in environment,
let's go.
No Heidegger this time. I'm staying
sex
away
tape.
No
Heidegger had a sex tape, guys.
Exactly.
Heidegger sex tape. Yes.
So environmental psychology calls furniture placement as schemas. So that is your potential. When you see it, you know exactly what the schema allows.
Because it's kind of like, it's theater. You see
it
one
is
chair,
totally theater. Yeah.
One chair, it means something. 2 chairs, it means something different.
The way we are facing each other.
Furniture explains a scenario.
Oh, absolutely.
Furniture is like storytelling.
Schemas. So you know exactly what planes are, what is available. Not that you cannot stand on a chair and stuff, but your mental image of what is possible of that space is furniture. It's really interesting. I mean, and also the style of furniture will be giving you a sort of a normative experience. Like, what is the normative behavior in that space? Like, are we going to be all polite, or we are going to go into sex tape? Right? Because in different environments, you and I will not be joking with any Heidegger sex tapes at all.
No,
but with a little bit more, so we need a little bit level of being casual.
Furniture is also very status driven. Like
it's aspirational.
Like, it's very aspirational. It's like clothes.
It is.
It's like fashion. It's not just fabric.
This is how you and I would like to see it.
This
is how you and I would like to see it, because we believe that personal spaces is an extension of your aesthetic preferences, and not just aesthetic, but functional, aesthetic, aspirational. All of these preferences.
It is for everybody. Appearances are never deceiving. What you portray on the outside is who you are,
Oh dear God, I'm a crazy lady.
No, it is. So it's like clothes. And I think a lot of people, that's why people spend so much money on freaking purses. That's why people spend so much money on this. It goes into it's your identity.
I think, there's a level of that brings me back to our kids and the status obsession with whatever, purse, shoes, whatever, which is unfortunate. There's so much more design. The thing is,
by the way, there is so much more design other than what's kind of promoted,
exactly.
But there is so many. I mean, I think this is why I'm doing this show, to kind of expose that there are so many creative people in all different kinds of spheres, including fashion, including furniture. Just speaking about furniture, I just wanted to kind of say that in so many ways, the material of the furniture, the design of the furniture, the brand of the furniture, like, I just spoke about like the Eames chair. Like, even people who don't know design know that if they have that chair, people will think they know about design.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's a level of
just like if you wear a certain purse, like people will think like, she's or he's there. I
should have brought my purse. My purse is not, today's purse is like maybe closer to a pet than a purse.
I love that. I mean, I love your style. I think actually your style exemplifies this. Like, you are who you are, like you're just this like
crazy lady.
Avant-garde.
It's fine.
No, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. And I like that it's like, I think it speaks to a certain freedom to express yourself. And I think that's such a wonderful thing. And I think more people should do it.
Thank you. I mean, I know that I cannot not do it, so I don't have a choice.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
That's something that will always be an outlet.
Yeah.
Perfumes.
So Natasha
all
and
this
I
other
are going to
stuff.
start a fashion line. That'll be our next episode.
Yes.
But for now, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Fabulous.
Thank you, Natasha, so much. As
Oh
always.
my God.
You're
Fabulous.
a burst of inspiration and life and creativity. And I'm so happy, to kind of share this space with you and chat with you and
thank you so much for inviting
unhinge
me.
with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I love our current dynamics of once a week or twice a week.
Or twice, yeah. This is crazy. In LA, this is crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty crazy, right? So yeah, thank you. It's always fun.
Yeah.
And then the other part is I really admire what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
So yes, you're fighting with everybody for our, daily times and intentions. I'm sorry, daily time and you and what we can fit in a day. But thank God it's there. So good job.
Yay. Yay.
Yay. Yay. Yeah, cool.